Over the last few years, you've probably used AI to spruce up an email or perhaps to generate an image for a blog post. But what if we could use AI to generate some real human leads? I always say that there's not a better lead magnet out there than a quiz or a test. People love to take them, but creating them is a lot of work. Enter today's lifetime deal, an AI powered quiz builder called Meiro. Meiro, I'm not sure how to say it, but it is back on AppSumo as a lifetime deal. It originally hit the marketplace in 2024, and they are back for a second go round. And I am going to test out the tool. I'll try every single feature from beginning to end and tell you exactly what I think so you can decide if it's a good fit for your business. Today's video is sponsored by AppSumo, my favorite marketplace for entrepreneurs. If you want to help support this content, I make daily LTD reviews, by the way. To help me continue to make these reviews, just use my affiliate link in the description. Thank you very much to AppSumo for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into the review. Now, I am going to be using an AppSumo Tier 2 account to make this review because on Tier 1, there are some features you don't get access to, and I think they're pretty important features, like the ability to do AI images and AI generations from your own text files, links, and videos. Those are going to be pretty important to this review, so just keep that in mind. You really want to start off at Tier 2 and above if you need those features. If you want to make manual quizzes, well, you can do that on Tier 1 just fine. All right, so here is the Meiro interface. I'm going to create a new challenge. That's what they call their quizzes or tests that you build inside of their tool. So to do this, I can go over to challenges and then create a challenge, or of course, they have a big green button over here. Either one will work just fine. Now, the first question is, hey, do you want to do this yourself, AKA manually, or we could do it with AI, the way of the future. So let's click right over here where it says create with AI. Now, I'm not done yet. I can choose multiple ways to create from AI, either using a prompt, so just write in some text about the type of quiz or test I'd like to create, or I can supply some background information. Maybe I've got an online course and I want to have quizzes for that course. I could supply transcripts from the lessons as the text to actually use for the foundation of the quiz. So that's the context I'm providing AI. I could also do it from a file like a PDF or a docx. You can use a website link, a URL, or a video, a YouTube video. Just provide the URL and it will scan the text and create the quiz from that. Since I am a YouTuber, I think I'll probably go with that one and we'll see how well it works. Meiro has two types of challenges: score-based challenges, where there are concrete right and wrong answers, and answer-based challenges, which might not have absolute answers. So think like a personality test. There's not a wrong answer on a personality test, but you might want to assess it and give them an end result. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and choose score-based because that way it's more objective and I can see exactly what is right and wrong as we go. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to be starting with a video, but I could switch at this point. I could switch to a text file or link. Now, there are some limitations here. You can see with the file, it has to be 15 megabytes or less. And with the text window, it has to be 45,000 characters or less, so fairly large. Now, once you provide your context, whether it's text, file, link, or video, then you're going to give the AI a prompt, basically a task. You write that down here. That's going to be 600 characters. Meiro does support a lot of different languages. You can see them listed here. I'll kind of scroll through so you can see if your language is covered. I believe the number is around 24 languages. So pretty good coverage here, but it's certainly not every language in the entire world. All right, I'm almost done scrolling here. Hopefully you saw everything. Okay, I've entered in the URL of my last review, which was of Simple Commenter, another lifetime deal on AppSumo. I thought that was a great video, a great tool. Definitely it's something that a lot of people could use, but it didn't get a lot of views. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can maybe create a promotion around it by building out a quiz about the video. All right, I just came up with a prompt that I'm going to use, and it's very plain English here. Just said, create a quiz based on the content covered in the video. I want to see who is paying attention. So look for details that you can focus in on the quiz questions. So hopefully that makes enough sense. It's really not that clear, kind of on purpose. I didn't fix any of my language. So we'll see how the AI handles it. Let's go ahead and move to the next step where we get some options for our challenge. We can set the number of questions. It can be anywhere from 2 all the way up to 40 questions. And the number of choices, it can be from 2 all the way up to 6 different choices. So these are obviously like multiple choice questions. That's what I would call them. Although the next question down here, or the next option, is to choose the type of answer, whether it's single choice or multiple choice. What they mean here is how many answers are in each question. So single answer or multiple answer would be how I'd phrase that, but otherwise fairly clear. We can also set the number of results. So at the end of the challenge, what is the end result for the user? Did they pass? Did they fail? Are they assigned a personality? Are they a character from Sex and the City? That is all up to the quiz generation gods. Well, and by that I mean the AI overlords. All right, let's proceed to the next step. All right, we're on to step 3, which is the details, and it says confirm other details. Our difficulty is set to easy right now, but I think I'm going to crank that up a little bit. How about we go to hard? My options are easy, medium, and hard. Next, I get to choose a model. I can either use GPT-4o Mini, which is fast, or just GPT-4o, which is more powerful. I'm going to go with the more powerful option because I really want to have a very difficult quiz. Next up is our tone of voice. We can choose funny, friendly, serious, expert, mysterious, sarcastic, casual, or Yoda. Better watch out for George Lucas on that one, or I guess Disney at this point. I don't think you could find two more litigious companies. I'm going to go with serious as my quiz tone of voice, and we'll proceed to the next step. Now, the quiz needs a cover image, and they can generate that for you with AI. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, although it is optional. Now, this is not included in tier 1. So again, you need to be on tier 2 or above to get the AI image generation. All right, I've entered in a simple prompt here of a mouse clicking on a computer screen, and I'm going to use the comic book style. Let's go ahead and start AI magic. And here we go. We're going to get our cover image first, I would guess. No, we're generating questions, generating answers, generating results, and generating the images. All right, we should have this done in just a moment here. It looks like we have got our cover image here. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be an actual mouse clicking on the image like the animal. Yeah, I don't know, maybe that's a finger tapping, but there's a hair coming out of it. Yeah, overall just not a good image. Maybe we'll regenerate that. My options here are to replace it, so I can upload my own image. I can download it or I can just delete it, and I'm gonna delete it. Now that it's gone, I will generate the image again with AI. Second time is going to be the charm. All right, I'm ready to regenerate this image. I've improved the prompt a little bit. This time it says, generate an image of a laptop where you can see the screen and the mouse cursor is actively being clicked on a website. And I'm gonna go with digital art this time. Let's go ahead and generate the image. Overall, I'd say that the images are generated pretty quickly, and these are definitely a lot better. However, I think you probably could just get better results using another image generation tool. Hopefully, the quiz is better than this, but overall, the images are kind of just like, okay. I'm just gonna go with this first one. The hands are kind of freaky, but you know what? I'm gonna go with it. All right, so here is my challenge. I can see all of my questions as well as my starting page right here. There's some text that's been generated for me, and then we can go through and look at the questions. What is the price of the lifetime deal for Simple Commenter? Which tool does the speaker use to inject the Simple Commenter script into a WordPress site? We've got how many clients are allowed per project within the AppSumo tier. These are good questions. This is stuff I covered in the video, but it is more nuanced and detailed, kind of like I asked for. You can see the correct answers have check marks next to them. Yeah, just kind of scrolling through, the questions are pretty impressive. Everything looks really good there. I've only got 5 questions, but no qualms about any of them. They're very clear and the correct answers. We also have our results down here. We have basic understanding is kind of like failure in my opinion. And then we've got advanced insight, which basically means you got 3 or more questions correct. Remember, there's only 5 questions, so even that is pretty generous. Now, the good news is I can basically customize all of this, right? So there's pencil icons everywhere. I can click on this. It opens up the question. I can change all of the answers. I can give it a description, and I can even add a cover image for each individual question using the same generate with AI option. Now, if I don't like the quiz at all, I can regenerate the entire thing right up here. However, I'm pretty happy with it. If I want to add in additional steps, I could do so with new blocks up here. You can see there's single choice, multiple choice, lead forms, results, fill in the gaps and picture choices, these are coming soon. So, what I'd like to do is actually add in a lead form here. So, let's drop this in. And here is what the lead form looks like. We can add in fields to collect data from our users. So by default, it gives me name and email address. But if you want to add a phone number, you can just click right here. Now, it's adding the phone number. I'm in the Safari browser, but it's not showing up right away. However, if I press refresh, it does eventually show up. So that's just something to notice. It might be a Safari bug. Let me check that real quick. All right, so now I'm in Chrome. I'm gonna go ahead and just remove that phone number. That updated in real time. Let's add in the phone number again. It's not adding there either. So that is not a Chrome bug, just something wrong with Meiro. So go ahead, refresh after you add a field and it will show up. But the bad news is if you don't know if you clicked it or not and you hit it a bunch of times and then you refresh, guess what? It's going to show up every single time. But as far as the form goes, it looks fairly complete. We can add text fields, phone numbers, countries, links, hidden fields, privacy policies. We can go ahead and add that in. Just basically a checkbox. If you have GDPR things, you can do that, as well as Google reCAPTCHA. You can go ahead and enable that. No backend setup needed. Just check a box and it is now turned on. Now, Meiro does offer email verification services. They charge extra for this. It's not included in the LTD. But for now, one thing I'd like to know is what types of services can I connect this lead form up to in order to automate the process of gathering leads? One thing you get on AppSumo Tier 2 and above that you don't get on Tier 1 is integrations. That is over here as you're editing one of the challenges. If you click on integrations, you can see that we can tie these into Google Sheets, Zapier, email, webhook, make, as well as Google Tag Manager. If you're wondering what email means, it just means that they will send you an email when someone fills out your challenge. Or if you're doing like lead generation for a local business, maybe you're doing a quiz to decide whether or not someone needs to get their floors cleaned or something like that. Well, you could have a quiz that automatically sends the owner of a business a message with the lead information. Now, don't worry, we are going to publish the quiz in a moment here, but first I want to show you the settings over here. We can turn on and off search indexing. So if you don't want to be discovered by Google, you can ask them politely not to find you. That doesn't mean they won't, but you can turn that off if you don't want to be discovered. We can also close the challenge so that doesn't delete the quiz or the challenge itself, but it means that no one else can sign up. We can change the language right here. We saw that earlier. And we can also turn off the Meiro branding if you don't prefer to promote their service. They do have an affiliate program, so if you'd like to sign up for that, perhaps it ties into the Made with Love on Meiro. I'm not totally positive, but I do like when companies do that. It certainly encourages me to leave their branding on. In terms of the question features, we can randomize the questions. We can protect against people submitting multiple quizzes. So basically, this is going to use their geolocation, their IP address, and prevent them from signing in again and, trying to game the system by getting the right answers the second time around. We can also turn on a timer. If we do this, we can set each question or the full challenge to have a specific time limit. Why don't I go ahead and turn this on right now, and we'll just say a 1 minute time limit. That way you can't go search the video and find the correct answer. We can also have answer explanations. And if I turn this on, there will be another setting over inside of each question where I can provide those explanations. I'll turn that on so we can look at it in a moment. Then the only other option are our sharing options, which are sharing buttons, and then you can see all of the social networks that we can promote on. When you're ready to publish your quiz, you can choose to use the Meiro domain, or good news, you can actually connect up your own custom domain. I already did this. I connected up my domain. It was very easy to do so. I used Cloudflare. I just added in a couple DNS entries. It literally took 20 seconds, and now I've got a URL that is branded to our company. Of course, there's also an embed code here, so if you prefer to just put it on an existing page of your website, you could easily do that as well. I'm not going to check that out for this video, but I will be hitting publish and checking out what the actual quiz looks like in a moment. There's also an embed link if you prefer to use that. It says if you're using platforms like Notion, Coda, or Ghost, this works there quite well. There's also domain restrictions. So basically what this is whitelisting particular domains that can show your challenge or your quiz. I prefer to call it a quiz, but challenge is the term that they like to use. Before I go ahead and publish this, one more critique or thing I'd like to see added is some contextual awareness for the AI image generation. I'd like to publish this, but there's a lot of broken images, so sure it would be nice if I could just say, hey, read what the question is about and then create an image that would fit. And, I could ask you to regenerate if I don't like it, but right now to go through and write a prompt for every single image, it kind of feels like a lot of work. Now, of course, I don't need an image for each question, but I'd like for there to be one. But for now, I'm going to have to forego it just for the sake of time. Let's go ahead and hit publish. All right, I am published. I've got my URL right here. It actually gave me both URLs, and we'll go ahead and check this out. Okay, here is my quiz. You can see I'm using my own custom domain right here. Let's go ahead and start the questions. What is the current price? I'm gonna go ahead and say $49. Oh, you can see the ticker up here. The UI is really great. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with how it looks. Choose 49. We'll go ahead and move to the second question. I get the confirmation here. Oh, you know what? We forgot to check the answer explanations. Let's go ahead and pause this. I mean, I can't pause the quiz, but I'm going to go ahead and look at that and we'll come back and finish the quiz here in a second. So here is question 2. Let's go ahead and click this open. And here is my answer explanation. Remember, I turned that on over in the settings. So if I wanted to explain the answer a little bit more, maybe include a link or something just to fill in the blanks, I could easily do that. There's a nice little editor here. It's got bold, italics, numbered lists, bulleted lists, and links available. And you can have a different explanation for an incorrect and a correct answer. So that's pretty nice. All right, I actually ran out of time on question 2, so let's proceed to question 3. All right, here's question 3. I'm gonna go ahead and give it the answer. Oh, I was wrong. It was 10. Okay, here's what the lead form looks like. I've gone ahead and filled everything out. This is the reCAPTCHA. We've got the nice little image quiz here. Oh boy. What did I do? The first one wrong? I mean, I swear there was a sliver of that stoplight. We'll go ahead and submit this form so we can see what it looks like. And now we've got the result. I got 3 out of 5 right because I didn't answer one and I got one wrong. So basically, I got the better of the 2 possible results. And we've got our sharing links down here below. And finally, I can review all of the questions to see which ones I got wrong. All right, pretty good experience. Now, overall, I really like the look of the quiz, but if you want to change the style a little bit, there are design options over here. We can change all of the colors that are available. We can change the background image. We can even blur or darken our images. So lots of customizations here. I'll just change the accent color so you can kind of see what this looks like. We'll apply this as red, and there is my accent color. And I'll do a similar color for the button color. And let's go ahead and reload that quiz. So now you can see kind of what that looks like. You could really customize it to be more on brand, but overall, the style of the quiz, like with these rounded corners, that's not really going to change. Here's the domain section where you can add your own custom domain. You can see mine is added over here. If you want to add an additional one, you can add multiple domains to every single tier level. I think once you get up to tier 3, you get unlimited. Yes, that is correct. Right here, we got unlimited domains at tier 3, so pretty good value. But essentially, all you do is enter in your domain right here, and then it's going to give you some DNS values that you can just paste over into your registrar, and you'll be good to go. They even have an option to add your own favicon, which worked well. And finally, there is an analytics section over here where we can get a little bit of info about what's actually going on with our challenges, how often people are taking them, how long they're taking to complete them, and we can see our results right over here and even download them as a CSV. Overall, I think Meiro is a really good value. There's still a few little quirks to be worked out and maybe a few nice to have features like that automatic image generation I was mentioning earlier on, but I'm quite happy with this. I could see myself building lead magnets, quizzes very easily inside of this platform. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7.8 out of 10. My name is Dave. That's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions, make sure you hit me up in the comments down below. Don't forget to use that AppSumo link before you make a purchase. Thank you so much to everyone who already has done so. I will see you tomorrow with the next review.